Right, this is the Australian import bike, the one that wouldn't start, or was very lazy to start. The battery was flat, which didn't help. So I swapped the batteries over, but a lot of the wiring on the switch wasn't even wired in.
Okay.
Even with the new battery, it had no spark, no power to the coils. Well, there was power to the coils, but it wasn't right. The coil wires were on the wrong side. So basically, I started again. I stripped all the wires out, made sure all the rear lights worked, made sure all the headlamp and horn worked, and just checked all the wiring through, making sure that we then had a spark. Reset the ignition timing, rebuilt the carburettor, which was leaking everywhere. Now neither of them leak. Was a bit of a struggle to start it first of all. Got it going, dialed the carburettor in, so that was running okay, and then it was very, very tappety. So I've reset all the tappets, and it runs nice. Yeah, starts up first kick. Can't show you now, but it's all apart. But yeah, sounded nice. The only thing is there's a background noise, a constant background noise, but when you listen to this, and that's the noise I can hear in the background, it's constant noise.
Yeah. That
isn't the bearings on the clutch housing, so it's either the bearings in the end of the gearbox or some bearings on the other end of the gearbox. Without, again, taking the gearbox apart, you won't know.
Yeah.
One of the problems listed from the customer was the fact that it wouldn't go into first gear. So my immediate thought was this barrel, that's your gear change barrel, and your selectors run in those grooves. My immediate thought was, well, they've meshed that gear and that gear together wrong, because it can only go in one place. But it isn't that. But on looking at it a bit deeper, also the gear change rod on this one, I've taken the one off of that one, has been sawn off. So you've got that much thread there, look. This is the one from Australia. You see the end's been sawn off. See the cut marks on it?
Oh yeah.
So that's far too short. They've probably done that to try and get it to go into first gear easier. But if you shorten it down, you'll either only get second and third and no first. But that isn't the issue with it. The issue is the adjusting of the selector fork, which, looking at it, is going to break. That's your adjuster fork. Look, so when you try and put it into first gear, it should engage that piece that the fork sits in into the holes in the cog on that.
Yeah.
If you look at that fork, look, see how much that's moving?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be doing that at all. That should fit quite nicely around that slot. That fork there, see, it's not sitting square. That should be sitting dead square to that, but it's not. It's coming along and then coming over like that.
Okay. Which
means that the shimming, you can shim those left and right, is not correct. It should just, you should be able to get hold of that, push it with your thumb, and it'll go into gear. Now if I rotate everything here, that's trying to get it into first gear, forcing, there you go, that's just gone in. See the angle of that fork? If you look at this side, you can see a gap.
Right.
It's just sitting like that, so it's bent the fork already.
Yeah.
By trying to force it into gear. So whichever way the wind blows, that ultimately it will snap that fork off if it isn't adjusted up properly. It shouldn't be anywhere near that tight. Should be able to literally just put your finger on that, turn that. See, but it's not right. I mean, I can get it to go into first there. That's second. That edge there should be hitting against there. It should literally just click in.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got some play in it here and there, but that's not the end. You still, even if you took all the slack out, you're still there. So, back into neutral. It just won't go into first properly. But you can't adjust those forks until you've adjusted the bottom of the gear. If the bottom of the gearbox is out, you'll never adjust the forks up.
Yeah.
You've got to set all the backlashes on the gearbox first, which you can't do with it in the bike, unfortunately. And that bearing's definitely noisy. something's noisy somewhere. It could be that the adjustment on your end floats is too tight. That's what's making that noise. It could be that the main cog on the inside is rubbing up against the inside of the gearbox. Yes, you can get it to go into gear. This will never ever line up, and ultimately it will snap that fork off.
It's just a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah, it will break. Yes, we can bodge it up, but there's no point. It'll just break. Considering, like we said, as the customer thought he'd bought a real dog, the engine's okay.
That's good to
It
know.
runs, it's got good compression, it starts up first kick. Like I say, the only thing is that underlying noise, which is that.